I mean, really. I mean, is anyone going to buy it?
I think people are overlooking it, to be honest. I mean, I know it made her come off weak, but it's not like we're not ever going to view her the same anymore. I mean, come on now. That's over-exaggerated. How many times have we seen The Undertaker been overpowered? Hell, just last year, Kane overpowered The Undertaker, but no one ever said, oh, no, I can't see The Undertaker the same again, you know? So I think it's more of a thing where people are just overlooking it.
Good point. Good point.
I agree with you.
All right, guys, let's move on to this question here. And I want to ask you guys something here. 2011, let's say all three of these guys officially retire. I want you guys to pick one of these three names and then tell me why you think that this person should be in the Hall of Fame before the other two, and that's Triple H, Undertaker, and Edge. If all three of them decided, hey, 2011, that's our year, we're done, and you know, even Undertaker's like, I don't even need 20, you know, I'm just done. What do you think? Who would go in? Who do you guys think would go in over the other two? Let me know why.
Edge, because he retired first. I think he'd bring in more of the appeal to the Hall of Fame than Triple H and The Undertaker would, simply because he's just a better overall talker than them, in my opinion, because we all know The Undertaker wasn't the best mic worker around, but Edge was, however, and Triple H, with him, I don't think he'd want to get inducted right away. You know, I think he'd want to wait a few years first. He'd rather focus on the wrestling business, you know, to improve it and extend it rather than put himself in the Hall of Fame. You know, I think that's one of the things he worries about least. You know, he puts that thing in the end for him. He doesn't really need that right now. But Edge, however, I think this guy would have to get inducted first because it's the only way to, you know, make us interested in him again. Now that he's retired, what else could there be for him to do?
My pick would have to be The Undertaker, and this is not me being the Undertaker mark. I am a fan of The Undertaker, no doubt, but if you look at his career, he's dominated for over 2 decades. He has the WrestleMania streak, which is a big part of his legacy, no doubt, but his character is something that can never be duplicated again. The Undertaker is truly one of a kind, and in my opinion, he embodies what the WWE has been about. You know, he definitely has put his body through hell for the WWE over the 2 decades he's been there, and in my opinion, he is a legend and is worthy of a Hall of Fame spot over the other two at this point in time.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything Cody just said.
I don't know. I want to say Edge just because I don't like The Undertaker, but I just think Undertaker is a bigger name, and he's regarded more as, like, a legend than Edge is, so I think he would probably go in first.
All right, so let's talk. So let's stay on the Undertaker here a little bit. And you know, a lot of people have been talking about how, you know, like, okay, Undertaker is, you know, you can see it. He's losing his steps in the ring. You know, you look at that match with Triple H, and a lot of time he was on his back, and when he got knocked down, it took him quite a while to get back on his feet. You could see the age creeping in with this guy, and so the question becomes, when Undertaker leaves, who do you think could be someone that could step up and kind of take over that role that the Undertaker has had for so long to those younger stars, which is a guy that people can look up to for guidance? Who's someone you think could step into that role?
Honestly, no one. Right now, no one. I think he's a once-in-a-lifetime superstar.
Well, a guy that could step...
You mean like a locker room leader?
Yeah, exactly. Someone who can be a locker room presence for the young guys to look up for guidance, the way that the other young stars who have basically had the Undertaker there to be that guy for them, well, they're not going to have that guy forever.
CM Punk.
I think CM Punk. He just doesn't seem like someone that has that kind of like leadership and attitude. I mean, I don't know him, so I can't say for sure, but I don't think it would be CM Punk.
Or Christian.
That's who I was kind of thinking too.
Yeah, Christian.
I think it could be multiple people. Christian, Kane, and hell, even Big Show. That's a veteran leadership in the locker room. And like you guys said, CM Punk could also be another locker room leader as well.
Well, don't Big Show and Kane already have leadership in the locker room?
The way that
I mean, they're veterans.
I mean, the way that I fucking look at it is, you know, like Kane has said that even at his age, the Undertaker still gives him guidance and shit. So, yeah. But yeah, I think Kane and Big Show would definitely be two guys that could have that veteran leadership in the locker room.
All right, so let's move on to this question here. A lot of people are talking about how, the WWE is too kid-friendly, it's too much for the kiddies. And so one idea that's been brought up is, well, why not have Raw, the flagship show? Why don't you have that show be the one that's kid-friendly? And then why don't you take SmackDown, and why don't you move that to a later time slot so that SmackDown can be a little bit edgier for the young adult audience and, the audience that's in that age range of, the 18 to 35 or, whatever that age range is that's in the Nielsen's. Do you think that'd be a good idea?
Really?
That's Erin's opinion. All right, she's gonna bust out with some party music. All right.
No, my phone started ringing.
We can roll with it. Don't worry about it. Keep the show going. But what do you guys think? Do you think that'd be an idea that the WWE could consider? Is that a good idea? Do you think?
What, having SmackDown be like the show for the adults? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like one of the people he suggested here is that, why don't you have Raw be the more kid-friendly show since that is the flagship show that more people watch, and then why don't you have SmackDown, move that to a later time slot and have it become a little bit more edgier for the young adult crowd? What do you think?
Well, WWE wouldn't do that simply because, number one, they look at SmackDown as a filler show, and number two, it's taped. So I really don't think they would want to put so much focus on SmackDown, being as it is that they favor Raw over SmackDown any time of the day. So from their perspective, they definitely wouldn't do that. And I think it would make more sense to have Raw be the show that's mostly for adults, because just look back at the Attitude Era, and you'll know why Raw be that show. I mean, Raw, yes, it may be kid-friendly, but at the same time, SmackDown is just as kid-friendly as Raw is. So either way you look at it, both shows are considered PG. So I don't really think they need to, cut the ratings different for both shows. It's still going to be the same thing.
All right. I got to go here, but I'll just give my thoughts here. I don't think WWE would have one show be more edgier than the other. I think if they were going to do edgy stuff, they would do it on Raw. I mean, as you've seen, when they had The Rock on, they did all of the edgy stuff they did with The Rock on Raw. So if WWE wanted to go edgy, they would do it on Raw more than SmackDown. But that's just my opinion. But I gotta go, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
I don't think they would even make a difference between two shows. Like, I don't like the idea of having said Raw for the kids.
Yeah, I don't really like that idea. Because, I mean, there are ways to work around PG, but creative is just too fucking lazy to do it. So, yeah.
Well, what I don't like about it is that if one show is for kids and one show is for adults, then the superstars are going to be, kind of specified, oh, this superstar is for kids, this one is for adults. and I don't really like that. Like, if you take the Raw roster, you have like all these guys. I don't want them to be labeled as wrestlers that are just for the kids.
And it's been proven before that WWE can actually do a lot of edgy stuff with PG rating. Look at the 1990s. They were PG,
Right.
but look at all the amazing stuff they did. It's just what Aaron pointed out, basically. The creative team doesn't know ways to get around PG, and instead they're too lazy that they want PG to be exactly what it is. They don't really think outside of the box.
All right, so I want to. All right, so another question here is about the CM Punk, and the question is, you look at CM Punk, and he really hasn't been doing too much, and right now the ball is kind of in his court as far as what his plans are going to be, and a lot of people are saying that look, WWE wants to keep him, but it's really up to CM Punk. Do you think there's any way for WWE to kind of keep him there? Like, what do you guys think would be a way for WWE to keep him there, or do you think that CM Punk is just gonna say, you know what, I've done all I can do in WWE, and I'm just sick of this, and leave? What do you think?
Well, I think he's just going to take some time off, and then when he returns, he'll just eventually sign a new contract. I don't really think he's going to leave. I just think, obviously he's going to re-sign, because where the hell would CM Punk go if he left WWE? I mean, his passion is wrestling. I don't think he'd want to go back to ROH, but that's just my opinion, because it just doesn't make sense to me for someone who became a star on WWE to go from, mainstream back to having to start all over again. But that's just me. I don't know what CM Punk is planning to do. I just think he'll do something like Chris Jericho, take some time off, and eventually, just come back to the WWE, sign a new contract, and that's it.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was going to say. He was just going to pull a Chris Jericho and just take some time for himself and then come back when he wants.
Yeah, just chillax. That's basically what CM Punk wants to do.
Right. I think that what's the main problem that WWE wouldn't give him the rights to his name. That's what was wrong, right? They wanted him to sign them over.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, I think that if that is the reason why, at least, if that got sorted out, there wouldn't even be a problem. But who knows what the reason is.
All right, let's get to the last topic of the show. We're going to go on to ROH here, and on May 21st, they had a live event at the Chicago Ridge in Illinois, in Chicago Ridge in Illinois at the Frontier Fieldhouse, and I'm just going to go over and recap the action here. It started with Jim Cornette and Kerry Silkin letting everyone know about the new TV deal. Obviously, they got great response from that. Then it went on into Homicide defeating Michael Elgin. That led to Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly beating the Bravado Brothers. Then you had an in-ring segment where Steve Corino came out with a shaved head saying he's going to reveal his sponsor. Bennett comes out, and then the sponsor is revealed to be Jimmy Jacobs, and Jacobs, comes out and he says what he wants to say, and then at the end of that, Jim Cornette has security escort Jacobs out of the building. After that whole thing happened, Mike Bennett defeated Steve Corino, and then it went on to El Generico defeating Chris Harris. Davey Richards then defeated Charlie Haas. After the match, ROH did a 10-bell salute in honor of Randy Savage and Larry Sweeney. After that, you had a Shelton Benjamin defeating Claudio Castagnoli. Then you had Colt Cabana defeat Christopher Daniels. You had the Briscoes defeat the All Night Express in a Chicago Street Fight tag team match. And then you also had Eddie Edwards successfully defend against Roderick Strong. And then after the match, Eddie says that he wants to defend against Dave Richards. And if that doesn't happen, then he's going to quit. And Davey comes out and he thinks it over and he finally accepts it. So, the questions coming out of this pay-per-view are obviously, what do you think about the Eddie Edwards and Davey situation? What do you think about the whole Steve Corino and Jimmy Jacobs being back? And then also, what do you think about, the whole, the pay-per-view as a whole? Not the pay-per-view, but the live show.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of both Davey and Eddie, so that's definitely going to be interesting what they're going to do. I mean, they're basically the best indie wrestlers